deciding I wanted to become a filmmaker gave me a lot of passion and direction in life.
JJ, thank you so much for hopping on the Creative Haven podcast. We've actually known each other for, I think, a few years
A
now.
couple years now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been really cool because when you contacted me about, your industry jump platform, it was awesome because I love what you were doing, just connecting filmmakers and creative types in the video industry with brands and companies. And I thought that was so inspirational because not that many people want to help people like that. Usually you just see it on Indeed or Craigslist, but
Hmm.
a filmmaker helping filmmakers, that was really cool. But I would love for you to just talk to the viewers and let them know more about your background and how you got into filmmaking and industry jump.
Yeah. So, should I start at the beginning of like when I wanted to become a filmmaker, or that's way too back?
Yeah, I want you to start from your birth. How did it feel? No,
Okay.
yeah, just start however back you want to start. Either
All
it's
right.
junior high or high school, whenever it
All
is.
right. Cool. So in high school, I was an athlete. I played hockey. I played lacrosse. I never took my grades seriously until senior year of high school. I was watching 7 Pounds, a Will Smith film. And for my whole life, I loved bringing things to life. I loved inventing things. I loved creating things. But I actually never knew how to do any of that. Like I wasn't an engineer. I didn't have a math or science background. I didn't actually know how to engineer things together. So I was always trying to figure out how to bring things to life without that kind of background. And then one day I was watching this film, 7 Pounds, and it just brought so many emotions out of me. And I was just like, wouldn't this be so great if I could do this for other people? And I was like, you know what? Like, I probably could as a filmmaker because I can write stuff down on paper and bring it to life with video. And that was really the light bulb moment for me. And that actually was the moment where deciding I wanted to become a filmmaker gave me a lot of passion and direction in life. And from that moment on, I was like a straight A student all the way through film school. Like I never even got to be on a report card again. Like
Nice.
I just aced it because I had that motivation of like, I really want to do this. I'm really invested in it for the first time. Um, and so I grew up in upstate New York, Rochester, New York. Not a lot going on there in the filmmaking scene. And at the beginning, I really wanted to be like a narrative filmmaker. I wanted to be on televisions and feature films. And so understanding that I wanted to be as close to LA as possible or close to where movies were being made as possible. And I thought it was LA. Also, I didn't have the grades to get into the film schools that I wanted to get into because I was a bad student for most of my life. So I was like, okay, well, if I don't have the grades to get into the film schools I want to, which was out at USC at the time, at least I will move somewhere close to USC and be a part of the films industry and start learning and meeting people. So one summer after high school, I worked as a roofer. All right. And I made a lot of money and I saved it all. And I just got in my car and drove to California after that summer. I arrived in California. I didn't know a single person in the entire state. I didn't have any family in the entire state. I was moving into an apartment that roommates that I met off Craigslist for the first time. And none of them were in the apartment for the first like week. So I just sat in the apartment before school started in California alone for the first week. Um, but 2 years later, I ended up being the student body president of that college. I was part of all of like the honor societies. I was part of the board of trustees as like the student representative. And like I was
Wow.
really invested into the Santa Barbara community. And I chose Santa
Yes.
Barbara because it was close enough to LA where I could go there. But I just saw amazing beach pictures when I was looking to live there
Yeah.
in New York. I saw that the college that I went to, Santa Barbara City College, was on the
Mhm.
beach. And so I was just like, this is where I'm going. I've heard great things. So, long story short, I busted my butt in Santa Barbara. I met everyone I could. I got involved in every opportunity I could. I took every film class that I could. And I ended up at getting into USC and Chapman at the end of those 2 years. Um, and that was like a big thing for me. And I was like, okay, well, which one do I want to go to? Because I want to be a director, producer, narrative filmmaking. And so my parents came out. We took a tour of those schools. We also toured LMU and whatnot. And I really fell in love with Chapman. And I fell in love with
Mhm.
Chapman for the reasons of I saw people making films. I saw so many people making films, whereas USC, what I felt was more theory, more study.
Mm.
And I talked to a lot of undergraduates there, and validated that, saying you don't really start to make a lot of films until graduate level. And I was
Mm,
like, no, I gotta just, I'm a hands-on guy. I just got to start making some films.
right.
And so I got a really great scholarship for Chapman. And so I ended up going to Chapman. But before I went to Chapman, I took a year off and I just worked in the industry, and I made my own short film for the first time. I got that into Santa Barbara Film Festival, and I just worked on set every way I possibly could. I was a grip, gaffer, a PA. I was shadowing anything I could. I would do night shoots in LA, and I would drive from Santa Barbara at like 10 o'clock at night to arrive at midnight in LA, work all
Wow.
night, come back. Like, I was sleeping on couches. I was doing everything I could. And so during that year, before I went to film school, I worked over 200 days on set in that 1 year alone.
No way.
And I was volunteering as like second ADs and whatnot. And during that time, I think I did 3 feature films. I was a second AD twice, and I was on a volunteer feature film as the first AD. In Santa Barbara, there was this volunteer film production studio,
Hmm.
and they made their first ever feature film, and I was the first AD on that film. And that's really how I got started with all my connections. And then I went on to Chapman.
Wow, that's amazing. Like the whole story of you getting into a car and just taking that risk of coming out to
Yeah.
LA and just being in Santa Barbara. I went to UC Santa Barbara, by the way. And so
Mm.
I don't know if we talked about
I
this, but
think we talked about
I
this
think we did.
originally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to go to Santa Barbara City College a
Okay.
lot. You know,
It's
that
so
whole
beautiful.
that lawn that's like
Oh, I
overlooking the
know.
ocean. It's so
Yeah.
great,
I
you
know,
know?
man.
And
There was some high times for me, man. I really enjoy looking back at those moments. Um, it was almost like me becoming an adult and becoming
mhm.
myself and really finding who I am. And I had a great time doing it. So
That's right. I mean, Santa
yeah,
Barbara, Isla Vista has its own, stories there.
live there. Whew.
Um, but yeah, yeah, that's a past
Yeah,
life, and another episode on my podcast.
yeah,
But what's really cool that to hear is that how you were able to take 2 years into you were basically 2 years to sit in Bar City College, and then you took a year just to work on films, and then
yeah,
going to Chapman,
yeah,
and then to create films. Like you've
yeah.
just been on set so
So
much.
much, so
And
much.
and what was it about the set life that really intrigued you? And which role did you really gravitate towards too?
Yeah, being on set at first, I think it was just the idea of being on set. I
Mhm.
probably could have been on any set and I would have been like, whoa, we're on set, and then it became the collaboration, we're all doing this for the bigger picture and we're bringing really cool ideas to life, and we're doing it in a cool way that I didn't know how to do before. And so like the behind the scenes magic of it all really kind of drew me into it. And I also think that it was just like it was a cool factor. Like we were working with some cool people, cool actors, cool locations, experiencing so much, and that really kind of powered me.
It's amazing. And I remember talking with you before where from film school you started getting into producing music videos and getting into the
Hmm.
whole videography
Hmm.
scene. And so let's talk about that transition and like how
Hmm.
you started getting into quote unquote videography, and what's the difference between of course filmmaking and videography and digital filmmaking. How did that just basically open up the gates for all these new creators?
Yeah. It's a bit of a longer story, so I'll try to do the short version.
Okay.
Since I took a year off to work in the industry, when I actually went to film school, I had established so many connections in the film industry that I was still getting hired to work on feature films during film school. And so I would take nearly 2 to 3 weeks off every single semester to work on a feature film. And so by the time I was graduating, actually the week I was graduating, I was UPMing a $300,000 commercial for Acura. And so like it was just I was working the whole time I was in film school, and film school was, something for me to learn, but that like I think working in industry took the priority. And so I came out of film school with a lot of producing experience. And I think I gravitated to the producing field because I was just good at business. I was good at logistics. I was good at building teams and whatnot. And quite frankly, it was easier to be a producer because there was more opportunity. Originally I thought, or I tried to go as a director, and I
Hmm.
just saw that there were so many obstacles in my path. And I realized that if I could learn the skills of producing, that I could create my own projects and just hire myself as the director. So I was
Yeah.
just like, well, I'll just go that route. I think it's a safer route because it gives me that business background, and it gives me multiple options to pursue as a career. Um, so in I think the last year of film school, I got connected with several players that Tom Tauher, Jacob Owens, other people that were making a lot of music videos. And also, I had connections in the narrative film scene too. And so,
Hmm.
coming out of film school, I had like two full networks, like a narrative film network and a music video network. And each network had, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 different people that I worked with that could hire me in some capacity. And that was also the time where Tom and Jake were just busting out videos, like maybe like two, three, four music videos a week. And I started
Jeez.
producing a lot of those. And so anytime they had a video like three, four, $5,000 or more, I'd come on and produce it. And so a lot of the videos was just me, Tom, Jake, maybe like a gaffer and a hair and makeup artist. And we
Nice.
cranked out, I think the year after college, I think we did over like 20 videos together. And we
Jeez.
were really cruising through it. And like working on those smaller sets kind of showed me, how these uh, videographers, content creators, in their own right, were able to kind of take that step up from working by themselves, but working with a little bit bigger of a team, but also show me everything that they can do with such a small team because I'm
Hmm.
used to the narrative filmmaking where we have crews of 20, 30, 40, and me, Tom, Jake, and a couple others were making magic with little to nothing, you know? And so that showed me a lot of the videographer movement. Jacob Owens is not quite a videographer, but he kind of is in the sense that he directs, he edits, he produces, he does anything he needs to do to make content, and he's a true content creator. And I think that's a lot of what videography is just you're creating content in one way or the other. Yeah, some videographers are just shooters for hire, like I'm just going to shoot like a birthday party and whatnot, but for the most part you're a content creator, you're a videographer. And so
Hmm.
I saw that life of these up and coming content creators getting hired to shoot all kinds of media, music videos, wedding videos, of course, real estate videos, commercials, online commercials, and so much more. uh, and I was also hiring a lot of people at this time because I was on so many projects. And so there were several times where my regulars were busy and I didn't have a good, reliable network or database to turn to find other crew members. And also, when I was out of state producing, I didn't have any resources as well. And as you know, the film industry is so much about who you know, and
Hmm.
it's really offline and just relationship based in a lot of ways. And so initially, when I was thinking about industry jump, I was just thinking about solving this very simple problem of just bringing all of my film connections and crew for Los Angeles online, and to invite my other producer friends to do the same thing so we can all kind of work together. And that's all it really started off as. Like when I started, I was like, I'm going to be a producer. This is just a side thing that I'm just going to do to help me in my career, and it'll be cool to have. And then it started, and it really became so much more. Like it just kept growing and growing, and we saw the possibilities, and we just kept chasing it. And then I saw, going back to my creating days of just like designs coming to life for the first time and people interacting with those like they would watching movies, but they're
Hmm.
doing it on like a daily basis, and you're really bringing them, value on a daily basis. And I just saw so much opportunity to create in this space to help my fellow colleagues and the industry in this space. And it's really been industry jump ever since then.
Wow, that's such a great story. I think that a lot of people would really appreciate how you're able to pivot during a time where you see a need in the market and actually your own personal need, and to make a business around that. And also the business is helping others as well. So you're
Yeah,
actually like, finding a way to really give back, and also, build something to help you, when you're
right,
trying to crew up.
right,
And,
exactly.
you're
Actually,
into
that was the original name, Crew Up.
crew up.
Yeah, that was the original name that we wanted to go with because that's all we imagined in the beginning was just to help Crew Up.
Yeah.
But we quickly saw that it was going to be a bigger thing than just crewing up. We wanted to help manage businesses because
Hmm.
understanding that filmmakers and videographers, they have so much to do. They
Yeah.
have to send invoices and get paid, and contracts and release forms and manage the crew and the communications and the client media and so much more. And we're just like, if we can find a way to streamline that and make it super easy for content creators to create, because that's what they want to do. And then we can, automate the back end of busy work. I think that's really the secret sauce that we haven't been able to do quite yet, but that's our mission.
No, it's brilliant because I was talking to, there's a past guest on here, Leslie Lopez, who is a producer and also a COO at Recon Productions. And we talked about how a lot of creators out there, they're not meant to be business owners.
Right.
I mean,
They
honestly,
just don't know.
you just don't know
Yeah.
because there's so much to do when you have a videography business that doesn't, it isn't creative. Do you really want to deal with contracts and invoices and
Hmm.
chasing down people for checks,
Hmm.
or do you want to just focus on creating a pitch deck and
Yeah.
shot list and getting it executed? And
Right.
so when you found all these issues with videographers and building businesses, is like, what did you find were kind of like the main common problems that videographers were facing when they had their own business?
Yeah, I'll pull it back a little bit because initially when I started, I didn't have the foresight for the content creation movement. And so I
Hmm.
originally just started as film crew, finding
Yeah.
film crew members, sound mixers, makeup artists, cinematographers, etc. Because that's the world that I was in, this narrative low budget world where we're doing 20, $30,000 music videos. We'd have 20 crew members, staff up for one day, then find someone all new the next time. And so I was just like, originally it's just film crew. And then about a year in, we started to really realize the content creation movement and
Hmm.
the boom of all of these new creators coming into the marketplace. And one of the things that we saw was just camera prices just kept on going down, which increased accessibility for all these creators to get a camera into their hands for the first time and just start shooting. And we got really inspired by that movement. And at the same time, we started to see that because these cameras were getting so much more affordable, a lot of the bigger productions were getting lower budgets.
Hmm.
And also because they needed more content, because media is everything. Like media is king, and you just need so much content these days. And so brands that used to do one big commercial every quarter is now maybe trying to do one commercial every month. And
Yeah.
so the cost is going down, but the quantity is going up. And we
Hmm.
saw these content creators as the perfect source to fulfill all of that media on an ongoing basis. And that's when we started to really pivot to the content creators instead of the film crew in general.
That's right.
And so when we did that, we surveyed at least 70 creators and we just talked to them. We're like, hey, tell us about you. How do you find gigs? How do you manage your business? What software do you use? What does your work life look like? How do you connect and talk to these customers? And we found several pain points. The first one is finding gigs. Finding gigs
Hmm.
is just always hard. No one never has enough gigs for the most part. You could always use more gigs. All right. So we're like, okay, that's problem number one that everyone told us about. So let's try and solve that first. And then the next one was managing the actual business,
Hmm.
like the whole business side of it. It's well, I guess even before that is learning how to manage a business,
Yeah.
like educating them how to actually run this business because so many people don't know. And so that's why we launched our mentoring, is to help these filmmakers that are really young try to build these businesses by connecting them with seasoned filmmakers like yourself that can help them in so many different directions. And so it's like, okay, well, one, we need to help find them gigs. And then two, we want to help educate them because one, we want to increase the chances that they have for success. Because
Hmm.
if they are in business longer, then we will have customers for longer, right? And also, we want people hiring through Industry Jump to hire the most talented filmmakers, and so we can help to educate our community. That goes hand in hand in that as well. And then the last one was actually managing the business once they
Hmm.
understand how to do that with business tools like invoicing, contracts, video review, bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff.
Wow. You have me just thinking about when I got into business because I was a YouTuber, and
Yeah.
before that, I was just creating content as a YouTuber that was in love with breakdancing and hip hop. And once it started getting into a team, and then we started I remember this. We had someone offer us a lot of money to buy our YouTube channel, and they
Wow.
asked, "Hey, do you have an LLC or an entity?" And I
Yeah.
looked at my partners, were like, no, we don't."
Yeah.
And so we had to figure it out fast, how to actually create a legitimate business. And it was a struggle because, like you said, there is a time where you really just want to create, and all these content creators right now, it's even back then, it's the whole idea of how much content can you make? It's this
Yeah.
quantity boom right now
Right.
because a lot of people, they feel like you're going to be irrelevant if you don't have enough content. And that goes for
Yeah.
brands
Yeah.
and creators.
Yep.
And so it's like trying to run a business while pumping out 5 videos a week. It's
Yeah.
tough. It really
It's
is.
very tough, and it can be a hamster wheel, you
Hmm.
know? And so the idea behind that is if you can automate as much of that process as possible to not get you bogged down with the invoicing and the contracts and all that kind of stuff, then you can really focus on the creativity and put more of your focus there, especially when you're doing so many different projects that like if you're just doing one project all year, then the invoicing and all that kind of stuff probably wouldn't be a problem because you just do it once and it'd be good. But when you're
Hmm.
doing, 30, 40, 50 projects a year, like some of our creators are or more, then it's like there's so much that you have to do for every single project. It's like you're starting a business, you're executing the business, and then you're shutting it down for every single project in some kind of way where you got this new client, you're onboarding them, you're fulfilling, the product, and then you're distributing it and then moving on to the next one. And so it's a really tough cycle. And we want to help our creators create and just create more, and so but at the end of the day, it's a business,
Hmm.
like it's still a business. They're doing this to make money. They're doing this to fulfill their clients. And we, I think, owe our creators the what we can do to help them run that business so they can be more successful and fulfill their passions.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that with a lot of the videographers and content creators these days, with access to different types of, camera equipment, I'm seeing this huge boom of like creativity and innovation.
Yeah.
And in your mind, the days of like being an auteur, being
Hmm.
that one
Yeah. Yeah.
director, have you seen a lot of auteurs now that there's a lot of technology, or do you feel like there's a lot of the same old like styles coming through? Like, have you found that people who do a lot of things, like a jack of all trades, one man band, they lose the creative innovation? Or do you feel like being that one man band gives you more control and more creativity?
Yeah. I think the creator can easily get stunted by the clients because of the lack of budget and the limited scope.
Hmm.
So it's very easy to get put into that lane of we got $1,000. This
Hmm.
is just one of the three music videos you're making this week. I've just got to crank it out. So I'm just going to find a warehouse and a couple of bottles and a car, and we're going to shoot that. And so you see this really like you see this a lot in the music video world. And so I think that a lot of the client work that young content creators are doing are not pushing the bounds in any way.
Mm.
But I think a lot of their individual spec work that they're doing are completely pushing the bounds.
Wow, that's right.
So it's like but it's so limited though, because these content creators are so focused on just getting that next gig and fulfilling that next gig. Most don't make time for spec work and passion projects. And so the ones that do, you can see them making some really cool stuff and like really great stuff that you want to put on a portfolio and show to everybody. But a lot of content creators just get stuck in that hamster wheel where it's just fulfilling, fulfilling, fulfilling with a limited budget, a limited time, a limited scope. And so thus the creativity is very limited in that sense, you know?
Wow.
And so many people kind of say like, once I get a bigger budget, then I'll do this. But then it just, there's more things that come with it. And you never really get to that point, So my thing is to urge creators to make time for their passion, their spec projects, because we are creating because we want to create. This is our passion. This is everything that we've worked so hard for. And if we only create for other people with very limited scopes, then you're not fulfilling your full creativity as a creator.
That to me is the theme of my life. I swear, the whole idea of balancing making content for other people's to have a career in filmmaking and videography, and then making content for yourself to fulfill your inner need to create. Because
Right.
the whole idea of, hey, I want to get paid for my passion,
Yeah.
right? Everybody wants to get paid for their passion, and
Right.
you would never work a day in your life if you're doing what you love.
Right.
But there is that limitation when you have to pay rent and you have to take that one job, that
Yeah.
one wedding that you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
You have to pay that rent, and
Right.
you are
And it
taken
just
away,
keeps going from there.
keeps going from there. You don't work on that cool short film that you've always wanted to work on, or that
Yeah.
spec visual effects, After Effects video you've always wanted to
Yeah.
work on. And I went through it this year actually, because with COVID, I got so many things canceled. I didn't know what to shoot. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to shoot things that I do on my hike.
Yeah.
And what I did on my hike, I was just messing around and I was just practicing with After Effects. And that actually got me gigs. Like the irony
Love
behind
it.
it is that
Yeah. I love it.
I didn't have gigs because I didn't have things to shoot, but I
Right.
shot whatever I wanted. And that eventually just gave me the gigs because
Yeah.
I didn't care. I just didn't
Right.
care about, having a job, not a job, but having a list of projects for 1 month, because I wanted to just create because of the sake of creating. And because
Yeah.
of that, people saw the value. And I think it's so important for filmmakers and content creators to create those spec works. And
Yeah.
for you, have you ever felt that inner need? As I know you are a producer,
Mm-hmm.
but you created,
Mm-hmm.
you've directed in the past. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you also get that creative urge as well as a
Mm-hmm.
business owner and a producer?
I 100% do, like, but it's different now. My
Mm-hmm.
creative urges stem from technology now. It
Nice.
stems from like, what can we do for Industry Jump? What new features, what new things can we do? And that's how I've been executing it. So it's more been in the technology world of building this community, supporting this community. Frankly, because that's what I really like to do. If I'm being honest, I would say that I'm a little burnt out from filmmaking at the moment, and
Mm.
I have been for 6 to 12 months, and it's just um, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with Industry Jump and some of the other online technology startup stuff, and that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be a filmmaker again, but it just means that I'm exploring creativity in other ways, and I
Wow.
always have filmmaking to go back to emphasize whatever I'm doing, and it's like the best skill set ever because whatever I want to promote, I can make a film about it. I can make promotional material. I can make trailers, etc. And I still have a blast doing it. I love editing, like like when I do Industry Jump promos and editing those together. I have so much fun with it. I
Mm.
love that stuff. So like right now for me, it's and I've been planning this for quite a while too, man. It's like a couple of years ago, I'd say 3 years ago, when I was thinking about Industry Jump for the first time. I was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years into a relationship at that point. So it
Mm-hmm.
was at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife. And remember when I started out, I was all about film. I would just wanted to be on set every single day. And I slowly got burnt out, and my passion and where I wanted to be started to be more with my girlfriend, my wife,
Mm.
and less on set and being away from her. And just to live that healthy work-life balance, because so for so many years there was no balance. It was just work. And so when I was thinking about Industry Jump, I was thinking about how can I create an opportunity for myself that allows me to work remotely because I have family all over the country. I want to visit them. I don't want to just be here, like, so how can I create an opportunity where I can work anywhere in the country? I can still fulfill my passion for the film industry and creativity. And the answer was Industry Jump at that time. I didn't know it. But I started doing it and it became more and more of that answer. Um, and so it's really exciting in that regard. I co-produced and co-directed a feature film in 2018.
Mm.
And it was a small film, but we had some great talent. We shot it in 13 days in LA
Wow.
really quickly.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting it to the markets in 2019.
Nice.
And we ended up getting in, I think, 25 to 30 different states in the movie theaters, like a
Wow.
limited movie theater run. But it was in one of the movie theaters. It was at LA Live in Los Angeles and in Huntington Beach and whatnot. And so me and the other co-director and our families went and saw the movie at the movie theaters. And so that was like the moment where it's like not an ending to this dream passion, but it's like I can take a breath now because
Mhm.
this is what I wanted and living in that moment. And it's like I have accomplished this. Now let me take a step back and think about what I want to do next for myself and how does that fit in with my family and other priorities that I have in life. And so, that's not the last that is the last movie that I made. I don't know if it's going to be the last movie I've ever made, but right now I'm exploring my creativity in other ways.
Wow, it's really great to hear that because I've talked to the people about their identity, before. Like, are you just a filmmaker your whole life?
Yeah.
And people like to just say, I'm a creator, or I'm a musician, or I'm an
Yeah.
artist. And sometimes people do get burnt out, and people also have different types of passions and different
Yeah.
types of interests, and you can't be just pigeonholed as
Right.
one type of person. And so when you do evolve as a person and you grow up and you mature,
Right.
sometimes that one passion you once had isn't as important anymore. Now
Mhm.
you found the passion in serving the community and as well as your family. And
Mhm.
I think that deep down inside, you still have that talent, that skill, and
Mhm.
that creativity that you can use in the future, even now, in other portions of your life, because
Mhm.
creativity can live outside of just art.
For
You're
sure.
creative when
In
you're,
every way of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
coding,
Everything.
UX, you design
Yep.
UX and
Yep.
UI. You can cook, be
Yep.
creative. You can
Yep.
drive and be creative. You can
Right.
brush your teeth
Creative
creatively.
workouts.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think that's why I really wanted to create a podcast like this, because I wanted people to feel valued as a creative and not
Mm.
feel like they need to adhere to society's influences to be that 9 to 5 employee that has to make money in order to feel successful. And so
Yeah.
I think that it's awesome that you've found your creative passion in industry jump. And I wanted to know, actually, when you do want to come up with ideas, like new innovative ideas for industry jump or a film, like, how do you get into your creative flow? Like, how do you
Yeah.
come up with ideas, or just get into a flow state?
Yeah. I think one of the problems that I've always had as a founder is I'm an idea guy. I
Hmm.
have so many ideas. I don't know what to do with them. I simply don't. And so that could lead to me being not focused and just exploring one idea quickly and then doing another one. And I easily can get scattered. But I will say that, and for me to get into my flow state, I only really, for the most part, can only ever get into my flow state in one place, and it's the gym.
Hmm.
That is the place where I get into the deepest flow that I can experience anywhere else. It's normally after I do a little bit of running. I have my headphones in, and then I actually start lifting weights. And then the last 30 minutes of that workout, I don't even know if I'm doing a workout. I'm just thinking, I'm just in that zone. And then I leave the gym with all of those ideas that, at least at the time, I thought were brilliant. But that's the place where I get into the flow. And so, one of the things about the coronavirus that has been very hard for me is I haven't been able to go to the gym. And
Hmm.
so finding ways to still enter that flow zone has been really hard for me. And I think something that I've just struggled with during these times, because I mean, I would go to the gym every day or nearly every day just to enter the flow, like not even to work out, even if I'm so sore, just to get that mental mindset going again, because I love it so much. And so that's been a tough time, but that's definitely the place that I go when I need any kind of fresh ideas, fresh thinking, and to really hammer out some ideas.
You're not alone there, my friend. I think that's the main number one through line through that question I've asked in all my podcasts. It's always about physical activity. There's
Yeah,
something
interesting.
about physical activity and exercise, working out, hiking, walking,
Hmm.
that gives your body and your brain the ability to focus, and
Yeah.
not even focus on, like, one problem. It's just
Right.
to focus on your surroundings and be
Right.
present. And that presence actually brings in these ideas. And so
Hmm.
that's to me one of the main reasons why I work out every day. I
Hmm.
gotta work my kettlebell every single morning.
There you go. There
Um,
you go.
but you know what, JJ, I think that what I would love to ask you is, there's a lot of people on here, like marketers and business owners and some entrepreneurs, and they have to hire a creative. They have to hire a content creator. So what would you say to them would be the best way to treat a creative and a content creator so that they get the freedom, but also they get the job done that the entrepreneur, the marketer wants?
It's a great question. And it's so funny because normally I'm instructing our listeners from my other podcast as creators how to work with marketers. So now
Hmm.
coming from the other side, it's a unique perspective. Um, I think the big thing that we're still trying to help break down the barriers between these two people is to really figure out what problems they're trying to solve. What
Yeah.
problems is the marketer, the company trying to solve? And if they can tell that creator those problems and make them really familiar with those problems and to let them suggest ideas around those problems, I think that's when you're going to be able to get the best work and results. Otherwise, it's really hard to connect with that creator without getting into that level of detail because the creator will send out so many different ideas of like, oh, we could do this, we get this camera and whatnot.
Hmm.
But the best creators are super focused on return on investment and getting the
Yeah.
results that that company needs because the company is essentially coming to them for that reason. And if you can get that company more results, they're most likely going to come to you for that, for more of that, and they're going to refer you. And it's just so much better to be able to do that. And so by cutting to the chase and say, listen, here's what we're struggling with. Here are all the resources we have at our disposal. How do you think we should solve these problems and engage in a creative conversation between each parties? I think that's the best approach that marketers, brands, people that don't understand video in general can just do with these creators is don't talk about the video. Let's talk about problems and how we're going to
Mm.
solve that. And then we can figure out how video is the best way to solve those problems. Or maybe it's not even the best way to solve problems. But let's just talk about solving those problems and how we can help you out first.
No, it's excellent advice. It's the whole idea of what's the objective?
Right.
What's the objective? What are my key results? Like, what am I trying to accomplish as a creator?
Right.
So both sides are, happy,
Right.
and I think that a lot of creators out there, as content creators, it's trying to figure out how to get a result from something creative, right?
Right.
Like, how am I supposed to get a CTA to look great? How does it make a CTA understandable at the end of a story, and
Yeah.
also make it look like it's not a formulaic video? So
Sorry, one
that's
sec.
JJ right now, just getting
Yeah.
angry at the moon.
No, thank you. That must be Amazon coming to the house. He does not like Amazon, and Amazon comes every day. So,
No problem. Well, you know what, JJ, as like a last thought, I know you're a busy person, I love for you to tell actually the other side, filmmakers, videographers, content creators out there, what advice can you give them in order for them to A, find gigs, and also B, work with companies in the best way possible so that they can keep getting gigs and projects and clients over and over again?
yeah, you know, we talk about this a lot, or I talk to creators a lot about this because I feel like sometimes it's not getting through to them
Mhm.
in a way of they're so busy doing their own projects and as the CEO of their own company, they're in charge and they often don't either take advice or are willing to educate themselves or really able to sit back and think about it as a business perspective. And I think because of that, so many creators just get stuck in that everyday routine of just cranking out videos left and right and just seeing how much money they can make from videos that aren't really satisfying them, you
Right.
know? And so one of the things that I think is going to happen for this generation of content creators to really evolve is they're going to need to understand how to run and manage these businesses and how
Ooh.
to speak to other business owners at that level to really start delivering results that can scale. And unless they do that, I think they're just going to be stuck in a hamster wheel. But
Mhm.
once they're able to understand video marketing and marketing concepts and how to actually communicate to brands and marketers, the world is unlimited. The possibilities are endless, like there's so many different ways you can make money in these instances. But I think there's been a little bit of a resistance for these young content creators to learn these new skills and to think about it as this type of way. And so I would definitely say, you know, you're building a business and you want to do this business for a long time. So you need a plan for the future. You need to educate yourself. You need to surround yourself with mentors, coaches, support groups that you can learn from, that you can ask questions to, that really build a healthy system going forward. because if you keep to yourself and you stay isolated, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to
Hmm.
stay in your own zone. You're probably going to do things wrong. You're not going to have the resources to really grow this company, and you might not make it. But I think that if you can build communities, you can continue to push yourself to learn new skills, and you can really connect with that client on the other side to figure out what that problem is they're trying to solve, and figure out how to scale that kind of customer service and client support. Then I think that will the possibilities are endless. And there's a handful of creators that are doing it these days, and they're having a huge amount of success. Huge amount of success. And they're trying to teach other creators how to do it as well. They have programs and whatnot,
Hmm.
because it is that next step that content creators need to take, because everyone these days can shoot a really good looking video.
Hmm.
Cameras make it so easy to shoot a really good looking video. So it's not about shooting a good looking video anymore. It's about delivering results with that video and how you're going to use that video, that a lot of creators struggle to learn. But it's still early. They're young, they're hungry, they have great attitudes, they're endless creativity, they're making insanely awesome stuff, and they will get there. Hopefully I can help. Hopefully I could be there, a part of that journey. But I think that's what I would say is my advice to young creators: look at the future, look at where you want to go, and start making sure that you're building a business that will get to the places that you want to go in the future.
Man, that's incredible. Thank you. I applaud you, sir, honestly,
Thank
because I
you.
think that a lot of creators and videographers and filmmakers out there need to hear that. They need to build their business. They need to think about themselves as a brand.
Yeah.
And you have to adapt with the market. You know, we're
Yeah.
not just making films and commercials and music videos anymore. There's branded content, there's marketing videos, social
Right.
media, and
There's so much.
they don't have those videos don't have to be just business videos that you put off to the side. They can be your creative
Right.
outlet. These can be the things that you can put on your reel. And so I always tell
Right.
people, even my clients, that I don't half-ass shit. Even if I do something that for a client that's not in my zone, like maybe it's
Right.
a corporation that works in the oil industry, I will
Hmm.
bust my ass to make the best video because it's on my reel, and I want to train and I want to create for the sake of creating.
Yeah.
So JJ, thank you.
Of
You
course.
spoke to my soul this whole time, and I really do
Ditto.
appreciate you and admire what you're doing at Industry Jump. So
Thank you.
before we go, please tell the audience where to find you and how can we support.
I appreciate that. So Industry Jump is free for everyone, so it doesn't hurt to create a video portfolio. Or if you're looking to hire video creators, you can go search for location positions and find verified content creators to hire. You can find me on Instagram at JJ Englert. And I also co-host a podcast called Learn Videography that you can find on all platforms as well. Feel free to drop me a DM if you have any questions. I'm happy to help whenever I can. I hope you guys got something valuable out of this episode, and thank you for having me on.
Yes, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchell Doomlau. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.